Kevin Durant has been traded to the Houston Rockets, and in return, the Suns got Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, and the number 10th pick in this year's draft, along with 5 second-rounders. P, I want to know what your initial thoughts of the trade were, but like that seems like a lot. Like that's a lot for KD at his age, in my opinion.
Shout out KD. Obviously, Houston believes that he has a lot still in the tank, which KD has shown. He still had another, efficient, highly, productive year this year. So shout out KD.
20 points a game or something, right?
North of that. But I mean, he's still showing that he's producing at a high level. So, I think in Houston's eyes, it's let's win now.
That has to be.
We have Alperen, we have KD now, we have a rising star in Thompson. We have, Fred VanVleet, a veteran point guard.
Jabari Smith. I think Jabari Smith.
Jabari Smith is still there. I think they made room for Cam Whitmore, who I thought should have been playing a long time ago. He might be one of their better players that I didn't know why he wasn't playing last year, or playing enough last year. And then they have another point guard there, and Reed Shepherd, who I think is been slept on. I think they carved out room for their young guys that they believe in, that they think that will be the face or will be the future of their organization, with Reed, with Cam Whitmore, with Thompson, with Jabari, Alperen. And I think now you bring in, if we can make a run, we got someone that can close games for us. Yep. And you bring in KD. So I'm not mad at it. It's a bit like, I'm not mad at it. I think people are, because of KD's age, they think, like, what direction is Houston trying to go at the end of the day? But they see a window, and I think they're trying to, shout out to them for you have a young star in Alperen, who I think is a stud, and that's who they believe in.
For sure.
Let's put something around him to try to win.
What about the other side of the coin? The Phoenix Suns. I mean, that kind of says a lot about what their current outlook on their franchise is as well, too. Jalen Green, and it just seems like they got some things that they're going to have to work out.
They got to work out some things, but I definitely think there's going to be more moves. I'm pretty sure Bradley Beal will probably be on the move.
That's a crazy one.
But I mean, you kind of got to, right? Like, you got Jalen Green, you got Dylan Brooks,
too
you
many
got Devin
small
Booker,
people
you got
over there.
Bradley Beal.
I want the ball.
And so, like, we saw the relationship between all of those three, and you saw the Bradley Beal kind of stuff going on. I think Bradley Beal will probably get moved, and they try to add more value to. I thought what lacked there was they didn't have enough outside of those three, and I think they're going to try to rebuild with putting more around, more options, more versatility. And I think just, a deeper bench. So I'm not mad at the trade. They get a number 10 pick, get another young good guy. They drafted well last year with the young fella Ryan Dunn.
I would have loved to see Jalen Green play with KD, though.
Yeah.
Jalen Green play with KD?
Yeah, that would have been nice.
I'm curious about his confidence level right now, because
Jalen Green,
he's still a young kid.
He's still a young
in the
guy.
NBA, and from my recollection, he didn't have a great playoff series. When they just went out, and he had a good game, then a bad game, and boom, just like that. And I think he just signed a pretty good contract, and it looked like they were kind of, this is our guy.
Right.
Didn't perform probably up to the expectation.
Right.
Then boom, he gets a trade, and now he's going over somewhere where you already have a star that's established. You know what I mean?
Right.
That Houston team was young, and I mean, Fred VanVleet, experienced, but Fred VanVleet's, I don't think most people look at him like a star. People look at Devin Booker like, he's a star. So it'll be interesting for me to see how he fits in, and his confidence, because it's a lot for a young kid getting traded like that. And, it'll be. I'm excited to watch that.
With that said, Pete, speaking of Jalen Green, like you say, he's young, 23, which we still can't believe. He was the number 2 pick in 2020 and everything, and now with this Houston getting rid of him out of the nowhere, what advice would you give to somebody like that's moving on?
I mean, sometimes it's more beneficial to get moved somewhere else, right? Like, you've been somewhere. He's been in Houston, 4 or 5 years. We know what Houston is. I think it could, bring a lot on to a young guy getting to Houston with the access that there is in Houston, right? I think now you go to Phoenix, rebrand yourself, a fresh start. You can come in right away, and it's kind of like, all right, now I can, it didn't work there. Maybe it's an opportunity to kind of look in the mirror like, all right, what can I bring? What value can I add? It's a chance for like a fresh new identity for himself, right? So I think you always gotta look at it as, you could be traded any day, any player, right? We saw that with Luka. You can get traded at any point in the year, right? So like, you can't take it personal. It's business at the end of the day.
Right.
Yeah. But again, you find a new home, and you kind of just throw yourself into the mix.
And he's, like you say, he's 23. Young. So
he's young, right? He's young. But I think this summer has got to be a huge summer for him. This summer's got to be one of the hardest working summers he's ever committed to, right? Because like, this is a chance to. You're 23. You're going into that phase that, I've been in the league 4 or 5 years now. You're going into that next phase of like, is he going to stick, or is he not going to stick?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you got a chance to like cement your spot in the league at this point. And so he's got to have a huge summer this year. Shout out, I seen him working with Dash. Shout out Dash. I know Dash going to get him right.
Yeah, Pete, this might be a stupid question, but it's kind of interesting to hear your perspective on it, because I think in your career, you've always been, the big fish that teams have landed. Have you been on any teams where, like in Jalen's role right now, like Kevin Durant was the big fish in that trade, like Houston wanted to go get KD. I don't think you haven't been involved in anything like that where it was like, man, like they got Braun, you know what I mean? Like there's levels to it. Have you ever been on any teams where you traded away a guy that was for another big star? Because I think there is a perspective there, you know what I mean? Like, your trades were a little bit different. Like, you were the big fish. He's not the big fish in this trade. It's got to be different.
For him?
It has to be, because he's looking at it like, dang, like they got Kevin Durant. Like, well, that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, It's a different, like, there's a different relationship there. Like, you've just been traded. You were the guy. All the other people weren't really.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that might play a little bit of a role in different perspective.
But then you think, like, at the end of the day, like, I got traded for KD. Like, all right. Yeah, like, all right.
I'm worth something.
But then, like, all right, like, I got traded for KD, and this is with all the struggles Phoenix has had, I could very well go to Phoenix and be, in his eyes, like, I could be the savior, right? Yeah. Like, I could also save a franchise, right? It's an opportunity for myself to kind of lift the franchise back up. Right, not to say KD wasn't doing his part, but they fell short. Mm-hmm. So now going into the situation, like, I have a chance to kind of, this is a good opportunity for me to kind of lift a franchise back up.